Welcome back to another Hoop Scoop Media Conference preview, previewing every conference for the 2024-25 college basketball season. Today, we are back into the high major world, or this might be the first high major. I'm losing track of everything. There's only five high major conferences, and I don't believe we've done any of them yet. So we are starting to dive into the high major world, although our schedule is a little bit random and not so much tiered any way, really. But yeah, first high major preview of the year, SEC. Last year finished as the fourth best conference according to KenPom. Tennessee, the regular season champions. Auburn, the conference tournament champions. And Auburn was also the highest ranked team on KenPom from the conference. And yeah, they sent 18s to the tournament. And Alabama went the furthest of them, making it all the way to the Final Four before losing there. But yeah, some new teams to the conference. Seems like about every conference out there is undergoing some sort of realignment change. SEC is no stranger to that. And actually, the two teams, Texas and Oklahoma, that are welcomed in are kind of ones that started the whole realignment change. So yeah, any thoughts about the conference? Just
Yeah, I think overall it should be for sure top two conference in the country, and I think the top half is probably as deep as any league.
yes, I would agree. Even the bottom, I would argue, is as about as good as any bottom you'll find. I mean, like even we'll talk about this a lot more in depth, but I don't think there's any like bad teams in the conference.
Yeah, I think the only team that kind of lowers out its or the only conference that lowers out its basement at a higher level would be the Big Ten. But
Yeah.
I think there's 16 solid teams in this conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, the all conference members from last year, Mark Sears is back at Alabama, Janai Broome back at Auburn, Zion Pullman from Florida exhausts his eligibility, Antonio Reeves from Kentucky did as well, as did Tolu Smith from Mississippi State, Dalton Knecht from Tennessee, Zakai Ziegler back at Tennessee, although, and Wade Taylor the fourth back at Texas A&M. That was the first team. The SEC does some weird all conference teams where they just have like a bunch of people on first and second team, but I think they're changing that this year because they released a preseason all conference their preseason all conference things, and there were like five players and they had a third team. So they might finally be catching up to the fact that only five players are on the basketball court at the same time. But anyway, getting on to second team, Jalen Williams from Auburn exhausts his eligibility. Walter Clayton Jr. is back at Florida. Rob Dillingham and Reed Shepard, Kentucky star freshmen, both started their pro career and were very high NBA draft picks. Matthew Morrell back at Ole Miss. Josh Hubbard back at Mississippi State. Talon Cooper exhausts his eligibility, and his teammate Michi Johnson transferred back to Ohio State, where he started his college career. And Jonas Adu transferred within the conference from Tennessee to Arkansas. So yeah, that was the second team. We got some coaching changes as well. Headlined by the biggest coaching change in college basketball, John Calipari moving from Kentucky to Arkansas. This completely shook the head coaching world. Yeah, what are you? We've already talked about this on previous podcasts, but this is just enormous.
Yeah, I think just totally changing the game in the SEC really and really across college basketball. We saw the amount of changes that um, came from Calipari going to Arkansas and really the moves kind of before that, Musselman to USC and whatnot. But I think overall, just setting the landscape for a really good SEC race, and the top half of the
Mhm.
conference is very even, and I think that is helped by kind of a boost for Arkansas, and also Kentucky's going to feel a bit of a boost with just new life in the program with Mark Pope.
Yeah, segueing right into that, Mark Pope, hired from BYU, played at Kentucky back in the day. And yeah, it's kind of an interesting hire. It was a hard one to grade, and we did our coaching grades podcast back in May because Pope, on one hand, is like, I really like him as a coach. I think he's a really up to date with the times. I mean, we saw BYU's team was really analytical last year, and the sets they ran stuff, but he also hasn't won a tournament game. He also was like Kentucky's like fourth or fifth choice, so I think he will succeed there. But definitely a little bit of skepticism with it's hard to explain because I love Mark Pope, but
Yeah, especially a job as big as Kentucky, the no tournament wins is going to raise an eyebrow. But I think speaking for myself, and I feel like the general public, I think people are higher on Mark Pope here October 15th when we're recording this compared to April, whenever when he was hired. So
yes.
I think these 6 months have people have kind of warmed up to it.
We'll see though. We'll see what happens in a month from now. Because that'll be really telling the story more than some off-season hype. But yeah, another hire not related to that whole chain of craziness is Vanderbilt. They hired Mark Byington. The Jerry Stackhouse era was a disaster. Personally, I don't think Stackhouse was like a bad coach. He just couldn't get players for some reason. And like considering he's like connected, like I think I don't know why he couldn't get players, but yeah, that just never really worked out. They hired Mark Byington from James Madison, really had a great season this year, but he of course he's been solid throughout his tenure there and at Georgia Southern. But yeah, he won 32 games this year, won a tournament game. It was he was definitely in the mix for a lot of high major jobs, and I think Vanderbilt. I think they did pretty good with this one.
Yeah, I think you look at it. I don't know. There's if there's many better hires they could have made out of guys that would reasonably or realistically have came to Vanderbilt.
Yes. And I like what he's done this offseason. We'll obviously get into that shortly, but I think things are looking up in Vanderbilt. Their football program's kind of on the rise. Maybe their basketball program. Maybe they're like going to be good at sports now.
I
It's
mean,
been
is it crazier to say Vanderbilt beating Alabama in basketball this year would be a bigger upset than what happened on the football field 2 weeks ago?
I think it'd be about even,
Like,
honestly.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, just something to
We'll
think about, I
see.
guess. Looking at my the way my standings shaped out.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, moving into our all conference teams, awards, all that fun stuff. Who is your SEC player of the year?
I think you got to go with Mark Sears.
Yeah. I went
I
with him as well, but I think you could definitely go Janai Broom and no one would be mad.
yeah, yeah. If I wanted to go different, I would have went Janai Brum. I really like Janai Brum, but you can't deny what Mark Sears did at
Yes.
Alabama last year and what he very well should do this year.
Yes. Sears really became that number one option with no Brandon Miller and really emerged as like one of the, if not the best guard in the country. So huge to have him back. Yeah, who was your freshman of the year?
I went with Asa Newell from Georgia. I think there's space in that front court to really make an impact for him. And I'm not super big on freshmen, but one of the higher rated guys in the class, and I think should have one of the bigger roles. A couple other
Yeah.
names for sure that
Yeah,
could have
I
been there,
uh
but
I went with Trey Johnson from Texas. Really probably going to be a pretty high score this year, I think. Yeah, can really create his own shot. Um, Texas, we'll see how the fit goes, but Johnson will start. He'll play a lot. He'll get some buckets. So I feel pretty comfortable picking him there. But Newell is also definitely would be my other guy in consideration. Um, Defense player of the year. This is where I did go with Janai Broom now.
I went with Cameron Matthews. Janai
Yeah.
Broom's impact undeniable on the defensive end, but Matthews is kind of like that pure defensive guy, and so I went with
I
him.
I I,
I like what he gives to the
I
Bulldogs.
do really like Matthews. He does a little bit of everything. Plays some like point guard, which is it's kind of yeah. He just it's kind of everywhere on the court. So can't hate that pick. But yeah, moving to our first team, we obviously both have Mark Sears there, so don't need to talk about that as we both have him as a player of the year. I also have Wade Taylor to fourth, Texas A&M. Slightly controversial player. He takes lot of shots, some of them not the best shot selection, but he gets buckets. And looking at who Texas A&M had last year, I don't know who he was really supposed to pass to besides like Emmanuel Bisecki kind of became good to end of the year, but like
Yeah,
yeah,
I can definitely see the argument for Wade Taylor, and the numbers will be there for sure. I put him on my second team. I think um, there's a couple other guards that are in close contention. I am assuming are on your first and second team. One of them being Walter Clayton Jr. from
yeah,
Florida.
I had
That's the
him in my
next.
first team as well. Very, very talented offensive player.
Yeah, kind of the same thing as Taylor. Like just gonna have the ball in his hands um, a lot more now. Now that Boots Radford's gone to A&M, and then Florida loses Zion Poland, I think Walter Clayton's numbers will go up even more. And Florida, Texas A&M, right around the same spot for me in the conference.
Yes, I am interested to see in Florida how they handle their point guard situation because Clayton's like probably theoretically their point guard, but he's not like really a point guard. Yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens there, and how that affects all of this. But yeah, I also had Janelle Davis from Arkansas on my first team transferring from Florida Atlantic. Guy that can really get buckets. I don't really have any worries at all about him translating up to the high major level. He's played really good in games versus good teams over his tenure at FAU.
Yeah, I have John L. Davis on my first team as well. And I think the only argument you would have against that is if you're a big DJ Wagner guy, if you think those kind of touches will go awry. But I think Davis makes himself known as the alpha in that backcourt and has a big year.
Yes. And
And
he's
like
also like a kind of more off the ball guy. Um, Not like off the ball, but they're not like competing at the point guard necessarily. So
yeah, but it's more like if Wagner delegates more of the scoring to him rather than trying to keep it more often. But yeah, Wagner will be a piece we'll talk about later. But
yes.
what Davis has done, undeniable at against all different levels of
Mm.
competition.
But yeah, Night Broom to round it out. Just he does everything.
Yeah, super impactful, both sides of the floor, on the glass. Yeah, everything you could want out of a big guy. And then my fifth name on the first team is Cliff Amorie, the
Okay,
Rutgers transfer.
I had him second team. He
Yeah,
was yeah.
I think his impact will be big for Alabama,
Mm.
kind of missing the rim protector last year. I think he provides that. And then I also think he's a bit more skilled than people give him credit for. I think um, he can have a decent role in that front court, and um, maybe the scoring won't be there with the other guys surrounding him, but yeah, the rim protection will be there, the rebounding will be there, and should get himself some easy buckets.
Yeah, he's gonna be catching a lot of lobs this year. I can confidently say that. But yeah, Cliff is someone. I mean, yeah, Steve Peichel is just not proven to be very good as an offensive coach, and I think that area of his game is going to be improved when you're working with Nate Oates, who's like one of the best offensive coaches in the country. And then yeah, Cliff just really adds an aspect to Alabama, like kind of what Charles Bediako gave them 2 years ago before he decided to go pro for I didn't agree with that decision. They were clearly missing someone like that last year to add arguably the most dominant rim protector in the country is huge for a team that needed defense like that. So yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, if you're into trends and what Amorie does on the defensive end, Alabama's defense has either been top 3 or outside the top 90 in Ken Palm
yes, it's
over the
every other
entire
year
Oates tenure.
too. Every
Yeah,
other year
so
too. This will be the top three defense. Statistically, trend speaking. Um, but yeah, so let's see, who's another member of your second team then? Or who's
uh,
a member
yeah,
of
we
your second
we
team?
talked Wade Taylor, and then
Yes.
I went with Zakai Ziegler,
Yep.
another really good point guard in or really just really good guard in this conference, and he'll have a lot more on his shoulders now for Tennessee, I think. more playmaking. I think his assist numbers take a big jump.
I mean,
A
he is,
lot of shooters
yeah,
surrounding him. So I think he can create like that, and then also a really good on ball defender. Uh, Very pesky,
yes.
even though he stands at just 5'8".
Yes, I also do think his like numbers were kind of like underrated last year because he was hurt at the beginning of the year, and I mean like he was coming off the ACL tear the year prior, and like he recovered like way faster than the normal timeline, so it was kind of off a little bit at the beginning of the year, but in SEC play he was really dynamic offensively. I think we could even see more of that, and yeah. We'll see how Tennessee works. Definitely a lot of transfers, some slight question marks. I'm still pretty confident in the system to work itself out. But yeah, Ziegler can really pass it, can really defend the ball, and I think he's a little underrated as a scorer as well. So great.
Yeah, I could see him averaging like 15, 4, and 8
Hmm.
on the year.
Yeah. Another guy had was Jackson Robinson for Kentucky. It's kind of hard to pick a Kentucky guy out of all the guys they have because I feel like you can make a reasonable case for a few different guys to land on all conference teams, but it seems like Robinson is kind of the consensus favorite, if you will. He's definitely the probably the best scorer, I'd say, and also the familiarity of Pope, the familiarity with the SEC already, kind of kind of all lines up for him being their go-to scorer.
Yeah, I actually don't have Robinson on any of my teams, so I have a Kentucky guy. I'll save him for later when we
Yeah.
get to him. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad pick. But like you said, it's hard to know which Kentucky guy will be the lead guy this year.
Hmm. So who is another one of your players?
Another guy on my second team, a guy I've hyped up really all off season long, is JP Pegues, the Furman transfer, now at Auburn. I think he really elevates that Auburn backcourt from what it was last year. I didn't really like any of the guys in the backcourt, and I think coming in from Furman, he's shown an ability to create, ability to score, and also we saw in the NCAA tournament, big moment player, big time player. I think he's the key to a NCAA tournament run for this team, which I thought was going to happen last year, and I really think this Auburn team is going to be good, and I think he's going to be a large piece in that, being the alpha number one in that backcourt.
Yeah, I did not have him here, but he definitely has opportunity. Auburn has had some shaky guard play in years past, and if he can really consistently be that guy, then I definitely see the vision for that. Um, but another guy I had was Colin Murray Boyles from South Carolina. I really don't like South Carolina this year, but Murray Boyles is really good. I can't drop him down too far with the even with the lack of team success I think he's gonna have. Um, and yeah, he missed the start of like last season because I think he had mono or something like that. But towards the middle of SEC play, towards the end of the season, he was dominant, really good rebounder, really efficient inside scorer, elite defender. Yeah, like I really like him as a player.
Yeah, I'm trying to recall the game I watched. There was a South Carolina game I watched early on in conference play last year, and it opened my eyes to who Colin Murray Boyles was,
Hmm.
and
Because
I
he
rode
was
the hype
getting
train the rest of the year.
yeah, he was getting a lot of hype preseason, but then that mono, which I'm pretty sure that what it was, that's what it was. It kind of
Yeah, there was some
sidelined
sort of
him and
illness.
sidelined his impact for like the first month of the year. Didn't even like play the first month basically. Took some time to get back into things, but once he got rolling, he was their best player, this SEC play, I would say honestly.
Yeah, I have him on my second team as well, even though like you, I'm not too high on South Carolina, so hopefully the Gamecock fans hear me hyping up Murray Boyles here and then click off and don't listen to what I have to say about that team
Yes,
later
I
on.
would I would I would second that statement. See, so who's
Are you through your second team?
no, I still have one more guy.
Okay, I've got one more as well, and that's Matthew Morrell. the Ole Miss guard. I think that's a really good backcourt this year. I think he's probably the best player in the backcourt. 16, 4, and 2 last year. I think he has maybe not a huge increase in his numbers this year, just with the talent surrounding him. But I think as a team they'll be better. And he had good efficiency numbers last year, and I think that continues this year.
Yeah, I put Morel on my third team. My last one or second team is actually another player with a M alliteration name, and that is Mark Mitchell, from Mizzou to Duke transfer. I honestly think he's pretty underrated. I feel like a lot of people don't really give him the respect he deserves when he was like a really solid player at Duke. I mean, like a really plus starter. Like his jump shot is extremely broke, but he's just so so impactful for a Mizzou team that did not win a single game in conference play last year. I think they have a chance to be decently good this year. And Mitchell, like I think he can be the best player on like a fringe tournament team.
Yeah, I've got Mitchell on my third team. I agree with what you said there. The jump shot obviously not
It's
there,
bad.
but should be one of the better players on that Missouri team. I
Yes.
think if you're going to take a chance on a guy to reach an all conference team, he's the guy on the
Hmm.
roster.
Yes. So that's everyone on my second team.
Yeah, I'm through with my second team as well. And then first name on my third team is Jordan Pope, the Oregon State transfer, now at Texas. You talked about the Texas backcourt dynamic a little with um, just the amount of scores there and only one ball, but I really like what Pope did, even on a bad Oregon State team, and what he was able to do in the game I watched against Arizona. That was one of the few times I tuned in, and yeah, I think a really dynamic score and probably the guy who has the ball in his hands the most in that backcourt. I think he's the most point guardish of the three.
Yeah, I would agree. That's going to be an interesting backcourt. Maybe if there were like multiple balls in the backcourt, that probably would fit more with who they have, but we'll
Yeah, if
see.
basketball was played with like three balls at a time, I think Texas would be one of the best teams in the country.
Probably. But yeah, I had a different transfer guard in that spot. I had Jason Edwards coming into Vanderbilt. I think he is really good. I feel like he's another player that's maybe a little overlooked nationally, but he really can score. Like he can flat out score the ball coming from North Texas. A little bit odd is like not really like a point guard or at least not really a distributor. But they have Hogard next to him, who's, despite his flaws, is elite at that. But yeah, Edwards can really score. He was dropping like 30-point games left and right during AAC play. Can
Playing
shoot
for a
it.
North Texas team too.
Yes. Yes. North Texas, for those who don't know, notoriously slow team. Um, so yeah, he really he can really score. I think he's a good fit with Byington. I think he's gonna continue to really score even with moving up a level in competition.
I didn't have Edwards on any of my all conference teams, but next name on my list is Josh Hubbard.
Yep,
That's another
same.
very dynamic scorer. Now a sophomore at Mississippi State, and probably the only freshman in the country that averaged 17 points a game that just isn't being talked about on a national level, in my opinion. Like
Hmm.
I think he's only 5'10". That's a bit of a weird backcourt fit with Kanye Clary, one of the guys coming in, but we'll get to that later. Yeah, just a really dynamic score. Not super
Hmm.
efficient, but I think his numbers will be big enough. Mississippi State will be good enough to get him on one of these teams.
Yes, yep. I had him in the same spot as well. So let's see, who's your next player then?
I went with Andrew Carr from Kentucky, the Wake
Okay.
Forest transfer. That's my Kentucky pick. I think it was really underrated how he fit at Wake last year, being able to stretch the floor for them at the four. And this Kentucky team's going to shoot a lot. of threes, and that's kind of what Mark Pope wants to do. And I think he fits really well in that offense. And then I just
Hmm.
think his shooting ability combined with everything else will be a big piece. And he's really the only four on the roster in my eyes. So I think the minutes will be there in a very otherwise balanced Kentucky roster.
Yeah, I didn't have Carr, but I definitely strongly considered having him here. I'm pretty high on him. Instead, I went with a different four in the conference as Alex Condon, from Florida, heading into his sophomore year. He was really looking the part. I mean, really the whole freshman season, but yeah, didn't really fall off too much as some freshmen typically do. But yeah, he can really protect the rim, really solid defender. Definitely has some offensive skills. Started to shoot a little more towards the end of the year, and yeah, I think he's just locked in for a breakout year. Like I don't see him not breaking out.
Yeah, I mean, probably maybe a bit contradictory on my end. He's my top guy on our breakout list, which are coming soon, I guess. But
Hmm.
I didn't have him making a list.
Yeah.
The final name for me was Jonas Adu for Arkansas,
Okay.
transferring over from Tennessee. Already has the SEC pedigree, and I think he will be the starting five at Arkansas, and I think he's a big reason that they have a solid front court and compete at the top of the SEC.
Yes. My Let's player was my third Alabama player of my all conference teams, and that is Chris Youngblood, transferring in from South Florida. I do believe he is out at the beginning of the season, but pretty sure he'll be back by conference play at least, which yeah, so he'll be fine to go for these awards. And yeah, he's just kind of does everything you want out of him. I mean, really efficient, just was a winning player last year. I believe he was the AAC player of the year on a South Florida team that really overachieved, was on a Kennesaw State team that really turned around, both under Amir Abdur-Rahim. So yeah, I think he's just a perfect connective piece for Alabama. It can shoot it, can score it, is going to play some smart basketball, is going to play some winning basketball. Pretty nice size in the wing too. Um, a lot to like about Youngblood.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned the injury question, but I imagine he'll be back um, close to 100% for sure by when conference starts. I didn't have him in one of my all conference teams, but definitely a guy I considered and a guy that could have a big year in that Alabama system.
Yep. So moving to our freshman team. So did you have obviously a Newell as your freshman year? Do you also have Johnson on your team?
Yeah, yeah,
All
Johnson and
right.
Newell,
Yeah.
and then next up was the duo of Arkansas freshmen Carter Knox and Boogie Fland. I think they'll both be big big pieces in the Arkansas rotation. And
Okay. I'd Fland. I did not have Knox. Was definitely close to being on there, but Um, another guy I had was Darian Reed for Alabama. I think he'll probably be in the starting lineup potentially for the time being, given that Youngblood will not be. So it's definitely an opportunity for him to get more used to the system. Maybe start. There's a lot of different directions Alabama can go in, but he's definitely one option. Top 10 recruit. So a lot to like there. And then my final guy was Cam Scott for South Carolina. Pretty highly regarded recruit there. Former Texas commit. So been on not on Texas, but it's been with a few different SEC schools, and yeah, I think he's another guy that like if South Carolina ends up like kind of becoming decent, he's probably going to be a reason why.
yeah, I think South Carolina fans will hope that he has a Colin Murray Boyles as freshman year for
Yes.
them. I'm maybe a little lower on him, but I I had him under consideration, him along with a couple of the Kentucky freshmen. But the fifth name on mine was Darian Reed for Alabama. As you mentioned, should be a starter at least during non-conference, and be a heavy rotational piece in SEC play.
Not like a super strong conference freshman wise. And part of that's because like there's a ton of good old guys in the conference, which like
Yeah,
there's also good freshmen. There's just like a lot
yeah,
of teams are pretty old, but
the SEC had, I think it was 6 of the top 16 transfer classes. I forget if that was 24/7 or on three, but yeah, really more focused on the transfers than the
and
freshmen.
like some really good returners too.
Yeah, Mark Sears, Walter Clayton, Wade Taylor, John
Yes.
Ibram, list goes on. It's a Kai Ziegler.
So yeah. Moving on to our breakout players though. For my first breakout player, I went with a transfer, but similar level. So I count that as Brandon Garrison for Kentucky. I don't know if he'll start, but I kind of hope he does because I kind of think that he is really good. Played in a bad Oklahoma State team, but he really showed me a lot as a freshman. Really good defensively. He was one of the more underrated freshmen in the country. I guess now that he's like at Kentucky, like and everyone knows about him, maybe he's not that underrated, but I think he was just like pretty solidly, constantly producing. And yeah, the bad team weighed him down, but I think he himself didn't do anything wrong. I mean, he was solid.
Yeah,
And I think yes.
first guy on my list is Alex Condon. We already
Yeah.
talked about him in the conference teams, and then my second guy was Manny Obaseki. Really strong
Yeah.
finish to the year
That,
for
that
A and
that's
M.
that's such an obvious break. I didn't have him, but like he's
Yeah,
obviously
I can see why you don't, or why you don't include him if it's a guy like that where it's almost a guaranteed breakout. And yeah, the shoes to fill with Boots Radford gone. I think big year next to Wade Taylor.
yes. For my next breakout player, I went with the Georgia guy. I went with Blue Kane. Another guy that had a pretty solid freshman season, but I think with Georgia, what you're looking at is they have a lot of players who are like good, but like who's gonna be that guy? Is it gonna be Demery? Maybe, but Kane can really score the ball, so I think there's a non-zero chance like he becomes the guy. Started the last few games of the season, and yeah, very skilled offensively. It would not surprise me if he like is your leading scorer this year.
Yeah, I went with Demery for my third guy, another guy in the Georgia
Yeah.
backcourt. Um, both Kane and Demery should take a step up as sophomores, and yeah, you can't really go wrong with either of them. I think they'll both be much improved.
Yes. I had chosen Alabama guy, Jaron Stevenson. It's kind of hard to see Alabama like having someone break out with just how deep they are and how many guys they have, but like Stevenson, like I they're gonna like have to play him somehow. Like they're gonna have to get him minutes. He was a reclass, so he was younger than a freshman last year. Showed some flashes shooting the ball. He's pretty athletic. Um, we'll see what positions he plays because I think he can honestly play like some at the three, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think he's really good though.
yeah, I didn't have Stevenson, but I definitely could um see if he becomes that main guy off the bench in the front court. I think Aiden Sherrill, the freshman, could kind of take away from his minutes, but
Yeah.
that'll be something we talk about later. The next guy for me was Tyrell Ward for LSU. I think he could take a step up. I think now he's a junior, I believe. Efficient from beyond three. Just kind of a 3/4. Um, bit of a score, can defend solid, but yeah, I think LSU has a lot of space for guys to break out, and I think he's one that will.
Yeah, I have another South Carolina inclusion here. I went with Zachary Davis, which is funny. I have all the South Carolina guys and all these teams. I still don't really like them too much, but I think South Carolina is in a position, just like given who they have lost, they're going to need someone to step up. I think Davis could be that guy. He was started like the last half of the season, was playing pretty solid towards the end of the year. Was pretty efficient. Was pretty solid overall. Heading into his third year, I think he can be a candidate for a guy who takes a jump in production.
Yeah, my last guy is JP Estrella from Tennessee. But
Okay.
I also just when I was looking through on LSU and mentioned Tyrell Ward, I also think Mike Williams is another guy for LSU that could have a breakout year. But I think Estrella in the front court, it might be a bit crowded, but I think last year he only played a couple minutes a game. He looked really bright when he was on the floor, especially that Elite Eight game against Purdue and Zach Edey. And I think there's a way that he kind of sneaks into that rotation and splits almost evenly with Akpara and has a big role.
Yeah, Silas went with another Tennessee guy. I went with Cam Carr. I think he's a guy that could really like become a NBA draft prospect over the course of the year. He can shoot it. Um, solid size in the wing, and like he didn't do much last year. I mean, Harley Dolly made 8 shots all season, so didn't do much, but a lot of people like him, and I definitely see why. Just some flashes, and I think he's a guy that could surprise some people this year.
Yeah, kind of not really talked about um, at all. But I think in that backcourt now with James and Vescovi gone and Dalton Connect as well, more of a three, I guess, but a lot of space for guys to break out. And I think him, Meshack, Gainey all need to take a big step forward for Tennessee.
Yes. Um. So yeah, moving into our top 10 transfers, we can just roll through these. We've already talked about a lot of them. Number one is where I had Janelle Davis.
Yep, same here.
Then Cliff at two.
Same.
Then I had Mark Mitchell at three.
I had Mitchell at 7 and JP Pegues was third for me.
Okay. I actually didn't have Pegisa on here, but like I definitely could make an argument. I mean, he's definitely on the same level as a lot of these guys. Maybe I should have included him. We'll see though. Number four is where I had Jackson Robinson.
I had the other Kentucky guy, Andrew Carr, at 4.
Yeah, number five, I had Chris Youngblood.
I went with Jonas Adu, which I
Okay.
guess in intra-conference transfer, but
Yeah, so still
counts all the
counts for
same.
sure. I do it seven and six is where I had Jason Edwards.
I had Jordan Pope at 6.
All right, then it's two J at seven then.
I had Mark Mitchell 7.
Okay. And then number eight, I had Sean Padula,
I
Ole Miss point guard.
Yeah, I went with Chaz Lanier at 8.
Okay. That's who
Um,
I had at nine.
and then Tony Perkins at 9 for me.
Okay. And
And
yeah, 10, I had Dre Davis for Ole Miss.
I had DJ Wagner at 10. But I mean, you can tell going through those last 5 for each of
So
us
many
that
like solid
yeah,
transfers, like so many like plus starters that like you could go so many different ways. I didn't even have any Texas guys part of it because I just like don't like the fit. Like I think Jordan Pope somewhere else would probably be on one of these teams. Like there's a lot of transfers in the conference I really liked that I left off, honestly.
yeah, I could probably make another list of 10 and be
Yeah.
just as happy with the 10 I came up with.
Mm, yes. But yeah, we'll talk about all these guys soon because now we're moving to our individual team previews, going through every team in the conference last year from worst to first and predicting where they're going to land this year and kind of giving a breakdown on everything about the team. So starting off, we'll start with the newcomers. Starting out with Oklahoma, I have the Sooners in the first year of the SEC at 14.
I'm actually a bit higher on Oklahoma than probably everybody, and I think I just moved them up 2 more spots today when I was doing like my last minute um changes, last minute notes. I put Oklahoma 11th. I'm buying into what Porter Moser has there, and I looking in at the transfer pieces, I like him a little bit more than I thought at first.
I really wish Nwankwo would not have gotten hurt because I really like him.
Yeah, that's a big loss, but I still think that the front court will be good enough to compete with those other teams in the bottom portion of the SEC.
Yeah, I feel like Moser like kind of does the same thing every year at Oklahoma. Like I don't know, I feel like people are kind of too low on this team because I feel
I
like he'll make them solid enough and probably yeah.
Yeah, going through the Ken Palm rankings that came out Sunday night, he had Oklahoma at 40, which was a lot higher than I expected anybody to be on Oklahoma. But then you look back at their Ken Palm under him, and it's 30, 54, 46,
Mhm.
40, and he hasn't really won all that many games year to year.
Yeah, hasn't even had a winning record in conference play and still granted in the Big 12. But yeah, I mean, they're still probably going to be a little better. I really like Duke Miles. That's like kind of that big piece for me.
Yeah, Duke Miles running the point and from High Point, who High Point themselves will be a very good team this year, even losing Duke Miles. And
Hmm.
he was a big reason why they were so good last year. And then I like all the guys they brought in to play the 2 and the 3. Kobe Elvis from Dayton, Glenn Taylor Jr. from
Honestly,
St.
yeah.
John's. I think he can have a bit bigger of a role with Oklahoma, maybe thrive in that. I like my Long Beach State guys, Jaden Jones.
Honestly, I think Jones, looking at it right now, is like my favorite, like 2, 3 wing they brought in. I'm not like a huge Kobe Elvis guy. I think he's fine, but like I kind of think Jones is better. I mean, I guess I don't know how controversial of a take that is. Long Beach State was filled with talent. They're Dan Monson deserved to be fired. Like
I mean, once he
they
got
shouldn't have
fired, he did a good job.
they shouldn't have fired him before the tournament, given like how talented they were and like given like how realistic it was for them to make a run. But like given how much talent they had, he should not have. He should. They made the right decision, just made it at the wrong times. But I'd say, but yeah, talking about Jones, Jones can shoot it. 38%, really solid defender, and yeah, like I mean, not to go too deep on him, but really efficient offensive option, really good in
Yeah,
defense. So I like
I think
both ends of that.
they have shooting really all across the board with all the guys they brought in, and Bryson Goodine,
Gooden can really shoot as well. He
yeah,
has strength.
47% from three last year, 14 points a game at Fairfield. So I think the
Yes.
shooting upside is definitely there, and yeah, you've got a fifth-year point guard in Duke Miles to run the show.
Forwards are Jelon Moore, Sam Godwin, Mohamed Wagi. I think it's just like it's good enough. Moore was actually really good last year, surprisingly. Um, but I think it's like a good enough group to get it done, and like maybe sprinkle in some like Luke Northweiler off the bench. Like it's not like the most
And
exciting forward group, but
they're all experienced too. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I think it can be a good enough front court. Um, whereas the shooting on the wings and Duke Miles at point guard can make this team pop a little more than it does on paper.
Yes. Another intriguing piece, Jeremiah Fears, freshman point guard at Bryant. He's a reclass, so reclass point guards, I don't know. They're not usually good unless you're Dan Thomas. But yeah, Fears supposedly is like kind of a chucker, but he's also like not
As long as
bad.
he can,
So
yeah, as long as he can give Duke Miles like 8 minutes of rest a game, I think you'll live with
yeah.
that.
I just hope like I don't know. As long as he doesn't like implode, they'll be fine. But like given what people have said, like I think there's a non-zero chance that happens. Anyway, though, off to Texas, another newcomer to the conference. I have the Longhorns sitting at eighth.
I've got Texas at ninth, which I mean,
You have them lower than me.
you're kind of a big Texas hater, and I have them lower than you. Kind of scares me, but
Yeah, I mean, I still don't think Rodney Terry's that good of a coach. I don't think I mean, like, He's okay, but he probably shouldn't be coaching at Texas, and probably won't be after a few more years. This roster is really interesting. I well, first of all, you got the backcourt of Pope, Mark Johnson. All those guys are going to want the ball all the time. Even adding in Kluma to that mix too.
Yeah, and
This is not a
I'm not really sure any of them impact winning all too much.
yeah.
I mean,
Like if I
Kaluma was
if I
on a
would
good
had to
Creighton
pick
team, but he wasn't really the guy
no,
there.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then
he
Pope and
was like no Creighton fans were not like as disappointed about Kaluma leaving as you would maybe like expect given his minutes and numbers. They only get like it's weird because I feel like Pope is the guy who would like theoretically like impact winning the most, but he has not won at all in 2 years at Oregon State, which like
I
part
think he probably tries, but like yeah.
he yeah, he made them like somewhat competent last year. But yeah. I mean Mark was on those really good Houston teams. I just don't like him like doing much on offense.
I mean,
Which
then
like he was like
he
kind of good in offense. It's weird because he was like bad offensively. He was just, like chucking threes in that Houston team, and he was kind of like good offensively, but Arkansas also didn't win at all last year. So
yeah,
I
he
don't like
left Houston to
yeah.
become the guy, and then he became the guy on a team that was maybe the biggest disappointment in all of college basketball last year. So a sour taste for me. And then yeah, then you're relying a lot on Trey Johnson as a freshman who should be
Who's gonna
talented,
be
but
good, but like again, he's also a guy that'll want the ball all the time.
yeah. And
Um,
then we kind of mentioned this during the A10 preview. Julian Larry, Jason Kent, now not in shirt system. What will they really bring? Um, Josh Shirts to Rodney Terry, probably one of the bigger
yeah,
coaching downgrades that you
like
can
just from
have.
like schemes, like play styles, just like the ability to get everyone involved, the good looks, like I love those guys at Indiana State, but I don't think like I think they were kind of made for the system. They were like the lower usage starters. Like I think they'll be fine bench players, but that they're not going to look anything like they did at Indiana State. And
I'd
of
almost
course,
like this team better if they had one less scorer, and then you have Julian
yeah.
Larry to give them the ball, spread it around a bit more.
Mhm. I do like Kendall Weaver though.
That was one guy I was going to
He's
make sure we mentioned. Yeah, one of my favorite kind of glue guys in the sport, and yeah, you see it every time he steps on the court. Just a
yeah.
dog.
Shrederick, we haven't talked about him. He's a fine big man. Not really sure who their backup big man is. Maybe Zurika Onyema. She's a little transfer jump in year two.
Yeah, he's really the only like five on the roster.
Unless you want to play Jamie Vincent, who's like ranked in the 230s. Yeah, I guess not that rankings mean much, but that would indicate that maybe he isn't ready to produce as a freshman. I don't know. Like this is a super talented team. There's no taking away from the fact that all of these guys are talented. I just don't see the fit. I don't think the coaching is right. I don't think Rodney Terry is going to be the guy that suddenly makes this all work because I think there are coaches that could make this roster work. I think this is still going to be a tournament team. Like there's too much here not to be, I think. But again, the fit is questionable. They're going to lose a bunch of games they shouldn't. I don't know.
Yeah, in my like top 10 teams in the SEC, I think Texas is definitely the most likely. If there was going to be one to just totally implode,
Yeah.
miss the tournament, I think it would be them.
Um, we're moving on to Missouri. They did not win a game in conference play, but I have them 11th, which I guess isn't super high, but I like everyone in the conference, so like, and it's not too low.
I've got Missouri 12th.
Okay.
Which yeah, anything this year will be better than what happened last year. But
And I honestly think like they'll be competing for the tournament.
yeah, I think they're like a step behind, but um, maybe not as big of a step as um, you would think. Yeah, they should be competing for the tournament, but I don't think they end up on the right side of the bubble.
Yeah,
And that's partly because you have to play all of these teams in the SEC above you um, for
I
however many
get you.
games in the conference
Yes,
play.
I do really like all their additions though for the most part. I think Perkins is kind of a little bit underrated as well. Um, he's slightly inconsistent at times, but yeah, I think he'll be really good. Obviously, as I mentioned, really like Mitchell. Um, Jacob Cruz, really efficient wing. I think he'll be fine in SEC. Marquez Warwick, been a really good scorer for a long time at Northern Kentucky. A really bad portal class last year, and I think Gates kind of realized that he just like had a lot of mid and no one good, and that kind of the results showed. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, talking to some Iowa fans, they were a little lower on Tony Perkins than I was. But yeah, I think stepping in, he can be a really solid point guard for this team and kind of provide them something of what they were missing last year, really.
yes. Caleb Grill, Tamar Bates, both back. Both solid players to have back considering the state of their program last year. Really, really solid freshman class as well. A lot of guys brought in. You don't really see big freshman classes as much, but um, Trent Pierce, a guy I think could like maybe break out if the minutes are there. Um, yeah, they also got Josh Gray from South Carolina. I mean, solid guy to play like 10, 15 minutes a game at center, which Mizzou is kind of lacking in a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
just looking through their roster, he might have to play more than that.
they got Peyton Marshall though, who's like huge. Like he is
Gotcha. Okay,
he's a
yeah.
big guy. I'm just gonna look up his weight real quick.
I,
It's a lot of pounds.
as long as Dennis Gates like takes a step forward, which he kind of has to this year, then I think that freshman class, you mentioned a bit bigger than most. What's five guys, four of them top 100 players. I think as they grow
Three
older,
hundred
that this
pounds.
okay, yeah, that this team will continue to improve year by year. But
But
yeah,
yeah,
I mean that's physically ready to compete in the SEC as a
yeah, I
freshman.
mean he's not gonna get bodied down low. Um, Next up, Vanderbilt. Yeah, obviously coaching change, so they were bad last year. And I have them 13th, but I think the tournament upside is absolutely there.
I have them 16th. Maybe that's just prior bias for them being Vanderbilt, but yeah, I don't team full of transfers. I like Byington, but I don't know.
I
I just
like
like
the transfers
the other
though.
rosters.
Like, do you
I'd
not
like
like the
a couple.
transfers?
I like a couple of them. Jason Edwards, I like him. Hogard probably a bit better than people give him credit
Yeah.
for.
I mean, yeah, I think Hogard,
I
like,
mean,
I think he's a pretty good point guard, but like he does some really stupid things, but like his assist to turnover ratio is actually pretty solid. And I hope with Edwards he kind of like passes. Like that becomes his focus because I think his problem is when he tries to become that scorer. Um,
he
I
had
think
Tyson Walker next to him last year, and still, I don't
that's
know.
true. New system though, we'll see. We'll see. Um, McLaughlin, I think, is like sneakily pretty solid. Chris Mannion is really good. I really like him, honestly. Like I'm a big fan. Um, like
Yeah,
think this team
I
is
think
gonna be all right.
I think the rest of the pieces are just kind of like solid fits, but I feel like the front court is a bit weak. McLaughlin's solid, but
Yeah.
then you've got Kajani Wright or Jalen Carey
I,
as
I
your
like
five.
I like Jalen Carey though. Like I think we'll see, but like I don't know about this year, but like he could. Like I definitely think he's pretty good at the very least. Um, they
I
got
think
a
it's a
bunch of yeah.
it's a good core to build on. A handful of these guys will come
Yeah,
back.
not
Maybe
like they'll be
Edwards,
building
and
on
then
this for.
I mean Nickel and Collins, two
Yeah,
guys with
I like
experience.
Nickel. I don't know about Collins. We'll see. He's an athlete. So we'll see if he's able to be a better offensive impact player. Alex Hemingway, good bench shooter. Yeah, I mean Edwards just like has to be really good, and if he like isn't doesn't live up to expectations, it's kind of like there's no way they make the tournament. But like I think some of their pieces are a little bit underrated. I mean, I think like all their pieces are kind of underrated, especially Mannion. Really kind of does everything on the floor, so we'll see. Big coaching upgrade, big roster upgrade. They still could finish last, but like if they finish last, they'll be like 80th in Ken Palm and finish last. Like, oh well, like that
Yeah,
was okay year one, I guess.
yeah, that's kind of what we talked about at the start, where there's not like a bad team that's kind of dragging this conference down.
Um, Next up though, Arkansas. I have them fifth in year one of the John Calipari era.
I've got Arkansas fourth, and yeah, you mentioned Calipari earlier, and um, just all the excitement brought into the program, I think, will be the most important thing. By the arrival, all the um, rumored NIL coming in, Slobberhog being back on the court
Yes,
should be an exciting
I
time.
saw that. I saw that. Yes. A lot of hype around the program. I mean, as there has been typically in Arkansas, definitely been one of the programs more on the rise just throughout the past like 5 or so years. We obviously talked about John L. Davis. He's going to be great. What do we think about DJ Wagner?
Yeah, I think definitely the most important player, as in, if he's good, they'll be really good. If he isn't what he is, or if he isn't what he's supposed to be, they might be bad. But I think he's a little overhated, or not overhated, maybe, but that's not the right word choice. But Reed Shepard and Rob Dillingham were so good that he kind of stood out as a bad player in that backcourt. But I don't think he was that bad. Obviously, didn't live up to his freshman ranking, but I think he can still be a solid point guard in the SEC.
Yeah, I would agree. He should not have been starting over those guys. I don't know why they did that, but I don't know. I think he could be good. He was a little, I believe he was a little banged up in conference play, but he also had a lot of bad games. He's definitely, I don't know what to think about him because like I was like really out in him last year, but like now year two, same coach still, hopefully fully healthy. I think he could be pretty good. I mean, he was the number one recruit in the class for a while,
Yeah,
but he
and
was
the
also
same
bad
coach.
last year. Like I think we do need to acknowledge it. He was bad.
Yeah, but
He
I don't like. I think it more stands out that he was worse than Robin Reed rather than he was just awful. Like, I mean, Calipari still played him that often. I mean, still put up
should
decent
he
numbers.
have?
Good passer, maybe not, but if you got a coach that believes in you, he followed him to Arkansas. I think can have a big year too.
I do definitely see the appeal for him. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, he definitely is the key to I would say. Because I feel like he could definitely be an all SEC player. If he it's definitely a thing within reason. And if that happens in Arkansas, it could be really good. Yeah, they definitely have some very intriguing players. Trevon Brazile, like kind of was like an all-American pick for a lot of people last year and just disappointed, wasn't really as aggressive as you would hope coming back from an injury. Um Adu is obviously like pretty good. He was all conference, but he also I would say has some flaws. Um Adu Tierro, I mean he's a great glue. You just can't really go wrong with him. Big
Yeah,
Z, Zvonimir Ivicic, another intriguing player. If like all these guys hit their potential, which like is realistically not going to happen, team definitely has a ceiling, but I feel like defensively, Calipari has not been a good defensive coach as of recently. So hmm.
Yeah, I think the team seems a little thin for me. Taking another deeper look at it, but I think Brazil can be a bigger piece this year, a second year back from injury. Hopefully, a bit more explosiveness in him that we saw before the injury. I think it was the tournament in Maui
He was
um,
so
2 years
good in
ago,
Maui.
and that's where he got the All American hype from. Really,
Yeah. Yeah. Good freshman class. Um, Carter Knox, Boogie Flan, Billy Richmond, also Casimir Chavez, lesser ranked. Also, they took like a random D2 transfer from like not a good D2 team. Don't really know what they were doing there. Um, and Melo Sanders, I think the ad was for like shooting, but like he's not
yeah. I mean,
really that good. I mean, like, yeah, I don't know.
they they
Good,
had
practice body at
they had
least. They
scholarships to
did,
fill. Yeah,
they did, and they did. So yeah, definitely interesting team. They'll be pretty good. Next up though, Georgia. I have them 10th, kind of high on Georgia this year.
I've got Georgia 13th. Um, I yeah, the 11 to 13 ranges is where I see Georgia finishing. We talked about the sophomore backcourt duo taking a step forward. That'll be big for them. And then
Hmm.
what kind of impact can Newell have as a freshman? I like him. I like Tyron Lawrence as well, providing some experience to that backcourt.
They
Obviously,
just
he
need
didn't play for a winning team, but
they just need one guy to pop, like really break out. I know it'll be really good. But like
yeah,
because I think like they're honestly too deep for their own good, but they have a lot of players that are like pretty good. Justin Abson is really underrated in my opinion, at least. He was amazing at App State, really good rim protector. Um, he doesn't do a whole lot on offense, but he's an elite rim protector. Lawrence obviously had his ups and downs at Vanderbilt, but proved that he can be like a legit number one option. RJ Godfrey, just solid plug and play transfer. Got the Mount St. Mary's guys, a few a little more established. Montgomery, one of the better freshmen in the country, and like just a really good freshman class too. Newell, Santos Cyril, really physical big man. I've heard some hype for Savo Drezgic, the Serbian guy. So yeah, like if someone pops, like they could be really good.
yeah. This is a team where definitely tournament upside for them, and yeah, just like you said, need those sophomores and the freshmen to take a big step up.
Yeah, and I kind of think Demery and Kane will break out. Like I'm just kind of interested to see because I also have like so many pieces. Like what is Lawrence gonna do? What is LeFew gonna do? But they have a lot of guys. This team is definitely too deep for their own good. But like they're so solid
Yeah,
that like Newell could like be better than even we think. So there's a lot of potential here. Need someone. Don't know who that's gonna be though. Um, Next up, Ole Miss. I have them ninth. I'm a little lower than maybe consensus.
yeah. I've got Ole Miss eighth, a step above where you've got them, but yeah, I think the front court is where the holes are. The back court looks really good in my eyes, though.
Yeah, I I don't
There's
know what to think about this team. They were like bad last year. Like I remember in non-con when they were like undefeated, but like beating some really bad teams like barely.
Detroit Mercy by like
That was
two, one, maybe.
they
Yeah,
beat a bunch of teams but like one that like were not good.
I like the backcourt. Morel and Murray returning, and then Dre Davis and Sean Padula providing um a bit of everything combined. Padula more like offensive minded, a creator, and then Dre Davis, really good defender, really good athlete. Um, I think the backcourt is there to give this team upside, but then the front court really lacks rim protection in my eyes.
Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, rim protection is definitely a little bit lacking. Unless you want to play like John Bull, who's like probably not good enough to play, but he'll give you rim protection.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the one guy I highlighted where he might have to be at least a 10-minute a game guy.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do in the front court because Malik Dia, like he is super skilled offensively. Like I really can't emphasize like how offensively skilled he is, but he was also like does he contribute to winning? Like I don't know. Like he was probably the third best player at Belmont last year. They had three really good players, but I don't know what I think about Dia. He might be kind of a head case, but he's like so skilled too that like he could be really good.
Yeah, you've got his skill, and then Breakfield, another kind of skilled four.
Yeah.
Can
Brown
space
Jones,
it a bit, and
another
Brown Jones, yeah,
four.
kind of
Um,
fits right in between those two.
you got Javon Benson. He's a big guy. I don't think he's gonna play that much, but he can play some spot minutes at the five.
Yeah,
Um,
7 and 5 at Hampton doesn't really excite
yes.
me, but I think
He'll
Devon
be he
Barnes,
can hold his own defensively though. He's big.
yeah, I mean, yeah, and there's a lot of scoring that will surround him when he gets on the floor. So
Hmm.
Devon Barnes, another guy, maybe more of just a straight up shooter for Ole Miss, but
Yeah.
I think he should have a little bit of minutes off the bench.
Yeah. I just like don't know what I think about this team. Dre Davis is really good, but like I don't know. Like
I
I
see where
see why I see why everyone likes him, but like I
I
don't
yeah
know.
I've poked too many holes to where it's like yeah I can't buy the top 25, the top 20. I think Jeff Goodman's got him
Because they are ranked,
nearing
I
his
think.
top
They're
15.
aren't they like ranked 24th or 25th in
I
the
got the AP
preseason?
poll on another tab. Yeah, 24th. So
I can see it, but like I don't have it. They were
I mean,
they were bad
Kempom's got him.
defensively, but like Beard's gonna make them ideally good defensively,
Yeah,
but also besides Davis, who is an elite defender, like Padula is not a good defender. I don't know. I just like I'm gonna need to see this team before I have an opinion on them. Um,
yeah. I think it'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on.
Another interesting team, Mississippi State. I have them 12th. Like I feel like that's probably too low, but I also don't like them.
I've got Mississippi State 10th. I see where you're coming from. There's another team where maybe some weird fits in the transfer
Really,
class.
really weird fits.
Kanye Clary, kind of a carbon copy, slightly worse version of Josh Hubbard in my eyes. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can't really play them both together defensively. And
Yeah. They got Claudel Harris as well, who's fine, I guess. I don't like the Riley Kugel take. Honestly, I'm like not like out on Riley Kugel. Like, I mean, obviously I'm lower on him, but like kind of out on Riley Kugel for picking Mississippi State when like feel like this is like the worst because like I like still I see a division still, but like are Hubbard and Clary like ever gonna pass him the ball? Like I don't
yeah,
know.
he's kind of super or like kind of lowering his role all on his own by committing there. We talked about Cam
Yeah.
Matthews a bit earlier. I like what he brings.
The good
Um,
thing is our front court like isn't gonna need the ball.
yeah, yeah, you've got enough scoring in the backcourt.
They
And yeah,
took RJ Melendez. Hmm, whatever. He's solid. Michael Nwako. They took Jeremy Fumana, who I always kind of laugh at every time he gets brought up because he decommitted from High Point, where he would have been their backup center and pretty clearly worse than Jocelyn Bodo, and now he's at Mississippi State. Granted, he's still not going to play a ton, but like that's kind of
yeah,
funny that he went from being a backup at a Big South school and then like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go to SEC instead.
Yeah,
After like not being good in Rhode Island, it was bad.
yeah,
That's a big in a portal.
yeah. Set himself at the bottom of the depth chart for sure.
Yeah. Jan's a good coach. Um, I don't know though. This roster, I don't like the fit, but like I could see how it works. Like I definitely see the vision. Well, not
Yeah,
really, but like I could see it working out.
yeah. I think at the very least, just yeah, seeing the Josh Hubbard, Kanye Clary, seeing how that'll fit it will be something to watch. And yeah, no matter what, you're gonna have scoring on the floor. So
Yep. Next up, LSU. I have LSU. I have them last. I have them 16th in the SEC.
yeah, I've got
Yeah.
LSU 14th. I could see them bottoming out. The talent isn't really there. I think we talked about Cam Carter before. I don't
I'm not
really like
big on Cam
yeah,
Carter.
I don't really like him as a winning player. And that's where I think the Mike Williams breakout could come, and I
But
think he
Jordan
could
Sears is gonna
completely overtake
start,
him.
right?
Yeah, I think Sears and Carter start 1 and 2, and then Williams I think ends up being more efficient, a better contributor than
Yeah.
Carter to team
They
success.
should just play Williams over Carter. I don't know. Carter was just like he like was good to start the season and like kind of just like became really bad suddenly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And I don't think you can deny the 15-5 at Kansas State. Like I don't think he won't start to start the year, but I think Williams' upside
Yeah.
is higher. Uh Terrell Ward, I talked about him a bit earlier. And then yeah, I think Jordan Sears can be good in the SEC,
Really, really skilled
especially
offensively.
offensively. Yeah.
Hmm. Like Derek Fountain is okay. Have some good freshmen. Damian Collins. I don't know. I feel like the thing is like everyone in this team like has potential, but no one has actually like been good, really. G Bailey, believe I don't know if, how to pronounce his name honestly. From Richmond. I mean, another good defender. Doesn't really do a whole lot in offense, but he's athletic. A lot of athleticism on this team. I, s- I mean, like they'll compete probably because of that, but like I don't think they'll actually be that good.
Yeah, I think definitely one of the less skilled teams in the conference.
Yes.
You talked about Bailey a bit. I think that's a solid defensive
Yeah.
piece on the wing. And then
Yep.
the freshmen are all probably a year away from being real SEC guys.
Yep. They'll probably we'll see.
I mean
Some of them
that
will probably just play it. They'll play.
yeah, I bet Miller and
Miller and
Gibbons.
Gibbons. Yeah.
Yeah, but
We'll see. Next up though, Texas A&M. I have them at seventh.
I've got Texas A&M fifth.
Okay. And yeah, all those teams are kind of jumbled together a little bit. So that is understandable. And yeah, like I kind of like this roster. Um, although I don't know how much I like Wade Taylor and Jerick Phelps playing together. Like that just seems like
Yeah.
two players
I
are
mean,
kind of black holes.
you put two shot chuckers together, you have really good offensive rebounders in the
Yes.
paint. Like you can get yourself easy buckets off the misses, I guess. But
Such a weird team. By the way, speaking about Texas A&M, last year they had 341st rank in effective field goal percentage, so not an efficient team out of like 363. But they had the 26th ranked offense, which is like crazy to me. And they like couldn't make shots, but they had like
yeah,
basically a top 25 offense.
do you have the
But yeah,
offensive rebounding percentage? Okay, yeah, yeah.
it
First in
was
the
42.3, which was like over 2% higher than the next best team in the country. So yeah, they crash offensive boards hard, very physical team. And yeah, like that's kind of the reason I like don't like not like too mad at Wade Taylor for shooting because like well, first of all, everyone's gonna get his rebound, but like, who is he supposed to pass to? Like, none of these guys can do any better than him, except for maybe Obaseki, because Obaseki was on a heater to end the season. So like, kind of like that duo. I think they should kind of start Wilcher at the
Yeah,
three, good spot up shooter.
I think Wilcher has to be a consistent 3-point shooter for this team to really be what they can be. Um, I
Hmm.
do like all four of the front court guys: Washington, Garcia, Coleman, and then my Minnesota guy for Alpayne. All really
Washington and
good rebounders,
Garcia,
obviously.
yes. Washington and Garcia are so fun. I mean, they're like they just like play with so much energy. They do kind of all little things. And yeah, Coleman and Payne more like traditional like bigs. Um,
I mean, Payne will give you excitement too, getting up for lobs. I mean, maybe
yeah,
it's more of a catching a Wade Taylor or Zerk Phelps 3-pointer that hits the side of the backboard than a lob. But
but yeah, Phelps is really good though. Like he's very talented. I
I mean,
definitely see like he was there's a reason he went high major. Um,
yeah, it's just the fact that like
but
now you
like
put a shot chucker next to the
we'll see.
most famed
He
shot
should
chucker in college basketball.
be brought off the bench to like be a spark plug and not like them together in the starting lineup.
I think Taylor, Obaseki, and Wilcher is
Wilcher.
probably
That should
there.
be the starting lineup. And then I guess you can kind of do whatever you want with the bigs. Um, kind of, I mean, they're all going to play a lot anyway. But yeah, interesting
Overall,
team.
overall, I think the experience
Weren't they like, yeah,
carries them.
weren't they like 13th in the rankings? Like they were like
And
absurdly high.
in the AP poll, yeah,
Yeah,
13th,
that's
which kind of
that's
blows my
interesting.
mind. I'll
I didn't
probably
know
have
people
them.
were that high on them.
Yeah, I'll probably have them between like 17 and 25 in that range. I think,
Yep.
yeah, the experience is good. I think um, anywhere between fourth and eighth in the SEC is realistic.
Yep. Next team, Florida. I have them fourth.
I've got Florida seventh, mainly due to the question we talked about earlier in the preview. Does this team have a true point guard? I think Walter Clayton Jr. could be it, but is that going to get the most efficiency out of him and the guys next to him? Is the question.
Yeah, Martin can definitely handle some point guard duties as well. We'll just that will be interesting, but um, I'm interested to see how the transfers like because Golden just like absolutely killed it. Like every transfer, well, I guess, oh yeah, like pretty much every transfer he got just like killed it. Clayton was amazing. Samuel and Poland were both like a lot better than expected. Um, So we'll see what happens with like Chinelu and Sam Alexis. Um, but we'll see how that works.
Yeah, Chinielo's been getting good praise in the offseason. I think um, he'll have a lot more on his shoulders with Han Logden out for the year, but I think he can be
It's
solid. 5-5 last year for a good Wazoo team. Talked about
hmm
Condon already. Big breakout year coming at the fourth spot. It's there's a bit of a lack of shooting in my eyes on the roster. I mean,
mm,
Richard 34%, Martin 34%.
I feel like Richard's a better shooter than that. I don't know. I didn't realize he only shot like 34% last year, but
I I think
that's
that would be another one of my biggest concerns for this
and
team, but
he made 73s and he was yeah. I think he's
there's still the upside with
I
how
don't think the
talented
shooting
that
is that
backcourt
bad.
trio is.
Yeah. Denzel Aberdeen, maybe he's a little breakout. Thomas Howe, solid 3, 4, 5. You got Olivier Rue, who's not gonna play, but he's 7'9" and is like a legit 7'9". Have you seen the pictures of like him standing next
I
to Micah Hanlon? Like
I
Hanlon's
saw a
like a
video.
legit like 7'1", and he looks so small.
It's like Rue in the layup lines. It goes up like dunks it. Looks like a mini hoop. in the video, and then he goes over to hand Lockton, and like, yeah, you just see like 3 feet of difference it seems in between them.
It's crazy because like Hanlockton's like a legit 7-1. So like Rue is like a legit 7-9, but he's not ready to play. So he won't. He's a preferred walk on, but he could be like there's definitely some intrigue with him. He's still so tall. Yeah, yeah, definitely interested to see. Kind of inclined to trust Golden with the transfers after last year. So
Yeah, yeah, I think this is like a borderline top 25 team, and I think it's important that Golden has a good year with them, wins a tournament game, and because I don't know
that would be big.
they expect a lot of Florida, and
Hmm.
I think last year would have really liked to win a game.
Yes. Next up, South Carolina. I have them 15th out of 16.
Yeah, I've got South Carolina in the same spot. I think last year, I mean the Ken Palm ranking overall showed it. It was kind of a bit of a fluky year for them. The wins
Yeah.
they were able to squeak out. Colin Murray Boyle should be one of the best players in the country that plays for like a non-tournament team. But
Hmm.
surrounding him, I don't like the rest of the roster.
Yeah. It's like last season, like, yeah, obviously they were like kind of fraudulent. Their record at least. It might have been number one in Ken Palm in luck. Um,
They
which is
were
like basically just
in the
like
top
how
five all year, I think.
much close games you win. Um, that's they were fourth in the country. So yeah, definitely a little bit worse in the record would say. But the thing is like you have that, but then they also lost Michi,
Kalan,
Cooper,
yeah, Cooper's a big
Mac.
loss.
So like they lost like three of their four key pieces, and like I don't really love who they brought in. I guess Pringle's like fine. Like you can play him at the five, doesn't like move me either way. Jordan Butler is kind of like a potential take. He's probably not going to be good this year. We'll see. I mean, there's intrigue with him, but
Yeah,
Jamari Thomas, he's okay. I mean, he was committed to
that's what I'm worried
VCU
about.
and then flipped. He was good in MEAC. I don't think that translates to be good in SEC.
Yeah, that's where I'm worried. It's maybe a bit too big of a step up, and
Hmm.
you had like that super experienced point guard in Cooper last year that was really going to share the ball.
Yeah,
Thomas more of a scorer. I don't know. I think efficiencies will definitely take a hit.
yeah. I'm not too high on him. Miles Studi's fine. Jacoby Wright's whatever. Zachary Davis, I mentioned one of my breakout players. Just think Condent's because I don't like their other guys, but I we'll see. If Lamont Paris can do it again, I don't think I'll ever doubt South Carolina again.
Yeah. I'll say the same thing, but for now, 15th. Yeah, I don't think the talent is there on this roster outside of Murray Boyles.
No. Next up though, Kentucky. I have them near one of the Mark Pope era. I have them sixth.
I've got them sixth as well.
I like the roster though. I like how it fits. They have a little bit of everything, which I really do like.
Yeah, I think it should fit well what Pope wants to do. Lots of shooters. I think the biggest kind of question is your two different point guards in Butler and Creasa. One's like
I
super
think
ultra
Carissa should
defensive, and the other's the creator, the scorer. So it's two totally different pieces.
I think Carissa should probably start. I mean he's like a point guard. Like I mean Butler's like kind of Butler's been more of like a combo guard in his career, I'd say. Kind of like never really been like the main point guard. I think Creasa could low-key be like really good under Mark Pope. Like I feel like people just kind of think he sucks, but like I mean he's actually like a really good shooter. Sometimes he does some stupid things too, but like I
Yeah,
think he's
you
like, this
could
is a perfect fit for him, and I don't know if enough people are realizing that.
yeah, you could see the intrigue at Arizona and then last year at West Virginia, like wasn't a big year, but he also wasn't really playing for a real team
Yeah,
or a real coach.
no one really watched them, but
Yeah.
he shot like
He
42%
he
from
actually he
three.
actually had good numbers. Yeah,
Yeah,
looking back
he
on
was
it.
pretty solid. He turns the ball over too much, but I
Yeah.
think that should be like less under Pope. Like the system is just so good. He's gonna make some threes. Gonna um yeah. I
Yeah, if he's good, the ceiling definitely raises.
yes. I do wish they had like a playmaking big like what Pope had last year in Ali Khalifa. That was a nice piece to have. But yeah, I still really like all the versatility on this roster. You talked about Andrew Carr a lot earlier. I think he's going to be pretty solid. Kobe Brea, statistically the best shooter in the country. Probably, I mean, like he's an elite catch and shoot guy. Probably had like the best possible outcome last year. Like I don't think he's like so much better than all these other like 40% guys, but he's an elite shooter either way. Um,
Yeah, I mean, 50% from three
yeah,
for a second straight season would probably be unreachable, but I think still, yeah, one of the elite shooters in the country.
yes. Got Jackson Robinson is that kind of a guy that can score. Got a defense with Lamont Butler, Otega Owe, who Owe had a really good non-con offensively for Oklahoma last year. Kind of trailed off in conference play, but he's still an elite defender any day of the week. Amari Williams, known for his defense, him and Garrison form a nice center duo. I also got transferred from Ansley Almanor, who was like going to go to Siena, but then Kentucky took him instead, which I guess if
Yeah,
you want to
take
go to
take it as it
Kentucky,
is.
yeah, I mean, solid shooting four. Probably won't play that much, but there are worse things they could have done. More of a bad move on the player than, well, I don't know. He's probably
I
just
mean,
not good enough to play at this
yeah,
level.
yeah, it just depends what he really wants to
Yeah,
get out of things, but yeah, I think overall you have to love what Pope did with the roster, all the shooting um on it, and yeah, just different guys that can create, be dynamic in the offense. Robinson, Carr, Krisa, Brea will be
yeah.
the shooter.
Colin Chandler is like a 20-year-old freshman. Could be probably be pretty decent. Um, yeah. Really highly regarded guy before going on a mission because he was at BYU and he is Mormon, and that is what they do. So, yeah, the other freshmen, Travis Perry, Trent Noah, probably won't do too much this year, but we'll see. Um, Next team, Alabama. I have them first.
Yeah, I've got Alabama first as well. I think overall a pretty consensus number one. I think it could maybe be a bit closer than people think, but I think still the team you have to give the nod to in the preseason.
Yes. Obviously made a Final Four run last year, but I really like this roster.
Yeah, I mean it's everything an Alabama roster really needs. Sears back as the point guard. Then you've got all of the experience in the starting lineup. Reitzel, Youngblood when he's healthy, Nelson,
Mhm.
Amorie, and then just high potential guys all the way. Reed. Yeah, list goes on.
Yeah. LeBron Filan as well. Like I've heard a lot of hype about him, if I recall. Um,
Yeah, that's one
I'm
where he might have a big role too with Youngblood out.
yeah, yeah. That definitely maybe not the best like lineup positionally, but I definitely think some minutes could like trickle down based on what they do. But Aiden Aiden Holloway is Aiden Holloway gonna like play? Like
It kind of sounds like it. I don't
I
know.
really like him too. Like I've really liked Holloway's potential as like a guy that stays in college forever because he's not big enough to go to the NBA and just like is dominant. But like this is not. I mean, like maybe it's the right team, but like I would love if he just like redshirted this year.
And then
Like
yeah,
pull a Braden Smith at Gonzaga, that Braden Smith, and just like, yeah, like I'm probably not going to play this year, but I could be really good next year. But I guess like realistically, he could still play. But like, I don't know. I
yeah,
really
he won't play as much as you would probably hope for,
yes.
but he
Houston Millett
is.
was like the first guy out of the portal this season.
Yeah, another good shooter, experienced ad, former teammate
Yes.
of Latrell Wrightsell,
No,
right?
no, Rachel was at
Number nine?
Fullerton.
Oh, shoot, yeah.
He was
You're
not.
right. Blue,
Well, he
blue,
was a
blue,
former Penn State commit though.
blue and orange Cali schools.
Yes, he was a former Penn State commit back in the day. Bet you didn't know that. Um, I don't
No, I did
know.
not.
The more you know. But yeah, Rachel, he does bring some defense. No, we've kind of talked about Alabama and like how they're going to be good in defense. I think obviously Amori is the big key, but Rachel is a plus perimeter defender. I think more minutes of him is probably a good thing defensively. And yeah, Grant Nelson kind of broke out in the tournament. He could be really good. We'll see if he can put it together for a full year. This team is so stacked. Um, it's going to be a top three defense team. That's just how it works. I don't make the rules, but yeah. And anything
Yeah,
else? Good freshman too. Like
I,
obviously, kind of
I
touched
mean,
on that, but like
if the trends continue and this defense really does end up top three, I mean, I feel like this has to be the number one team in the country just based on how good the offense has the capabilities to be. I still don't know where I'm going with my number one preseason, but Alabama has a good a
they're in the
chance,
mix
yeah, to be lifting the
for
trophy when it's
sure.
all
In
said
the
and done.
mix. Next team up, their rivals, Auburn, and I have Auburn second.
I've got Auburn in second as well.
Yeah, I mean, another team that did really good last year. Another team, not another team, another a team that really fizzled out in the tournament. Really disappointing. I think I had Auburn winning it all in a few of my brackets, which like
Yeah,
it was
I
a
did as
right it
well.
was the right pick. It was the right pick. Like I
I
know
won't
they
back
lost
down
their
on.
first game, but like picking Auburn to win it all is like what would have won you your bracket pool because like I mean I think like, I'm not saying they would have beat UConn because I don't think they would have, but like I think they beat UConn like more like
Th-
I think like they would like give them
They
a
met.
fight.
I felt like they matched up with UConn as good as
Hmm.
any other team. And obviously every other team got smacked by UConn, so maybe that's not a good
But like that was
comparison. But yeah,
how you were gonna get the edge on everyone, but they just like decided to lose to Yale, and like I like never thought that would happen, but it
yeah.
did. Chad
I'll
Baker
put the
Mazara like getting in a fight did not help their
yeah 3
cause.
minutes into the game, Baker
That
Mazar
was
gets
a stupid
ejected,
move.
and then
But
yeah, I talked about earlier. I think the backcourt massively upgraded this year. JP Pegues in. I like Miles Kelly as well from Georgia Tech, and hopefully second year jump from Denver Jones.
yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't talk about Miles Kelly that much. But he was like legitimately like a really good player on Georgia Tech. Think he like could be really good, although don't know if he'll start or not. Probably not, but he'll
I
get
yeah,
starter minutes.
I'd like to see him off the bench, spark plug score. But yeah, another guy who's going to play really heavy minutes off the bench.
Yeah,
The one spot in my eyes for this team is the four, losing Jalen Williams, who's going to step up there.
they're gonna play 40 minutes between Chaney Johnson, Chris Moore, and Jaheim Hudson. I think it'll work. I mean, like how
I
much
mean, and you
like
could
if
maybe
they
even
can like
see
play
Baker Mazzara
defense,
playing some four.
uh, can you?
Like, I mean, if you get
He's
Kelly,
pretty
if you get
thin.
Kelly at the three, it's enough like length. I feel like at some points,
Yeah, I would.
Broom will protect the paint enough, but
I'd rather have Broom at the four and Cardwell at the five than Baker Mazar at the four.
yeah, I don't hate that either. Yeah, Cardwell's another guy
Cardwell's
who
so
showed.
good. Like Cardwell is so good. It's a shame that he's behind Broom.
And
Um,
he's the ultimate hype man too. So
but like he's like the best like backup big you could ever want. Like there's no backup big in the country better than Dylan Carbo.
I can get behind that take for sure.
But there's also like maybe no starting big in the country better than Janai Broom. So that's why he's a backup. But like he's just like perfect. Like he doesn't do anything stupid. He does everything you want, does the little things. But yeah, Janai Broom kind of does the same thing, does everything you want. Um not
The
worried
hot
about them. The backcourt is what is gonna make or break the team.
I'm all in on JP Pegues, and then I know
CR.
Tahad Pettiford has got some hype. Probably doesn't need to play that big of a role, but could be a fun guy to throw in the backcourt. Give Pegues some rest.
Yeah. Supposedly Denver Jones is better now, according to some tweet I saw.
Yeah,
It might have been just like John Roston. Like who knows if that's actually real, but
I buy the second year
two-year
breakout for him.
transfer, 2 year transfers, that is a thing. So I definitely see that happening. Or
And
like I definitely could see it happening.
he shot 42% from three last year. Like he wasn't not efficient
Did
or
he shoot
anything.
that? I didn't really like did he take like that many threes? I
I
don't
guess
like
I don't know
let me look
the
back.
numbers on it. I don't. It probably couldn't have been more than one make a game, but
I guess he made like 51 threes. I feel like I didn't really think of him as a shooter. Maybe that's because when he played at FIU, he was more of like just a bucket getter overall.
yeah.
Um, he was kind of, I mean, like he played a lot. He was kind of like there. Auburn last year, just kind of hanging out while Broom did everything. But yeah, I didn't realize he shot the ball that well. Um,
And I think you put Kelly and Jones, a mix of them at the two. I think that's a lot of really good scoring. And then you got ultra experienced JP Pegues at the one. Can score it himself, can dish it as well.
yes, Pegues needs to hit because Auburn has had some questionable point guards. Like Aiden Holloway was bad. Um, Wendell Green
Reese,
was like kind of
Reese Cooper
overhated, but
never
also
hit.
like kind of well, he was good, but like that was a weird year that they banned themselves from the tournament, and they were just like
Yeah.
so bad because he was like eligible like mid season, like well, like season's over. But um, Wendell Green was like yeah, he was like not like he was overhated, but like also like was like stupid. Like same with Katie Johnson, kind of
Yeah. I
I don't
mean,
know.
you put all three of those guys together, it's like
Like there was some Auburn games when like they had like Wendell Green and Katie Johnson. They would just there were some tough watches. Um, I do think Green was overhated, but like I see the reason for the hate. But yeah. Anyway, this team, if Biggie's hits, they'll be really good. Like they could be like really like top five good if he hits.
yeah, and yeah, again, John Ibram, a clear cut top three big in the country. Yeah, I think you can go any order one, two, three. Him, Dickinson, and Kalkbrenner. I think those
That's
are
yeah.
the clear cut three in my eyes. But
Off the top
I
of my
think you
head, that
can,
seems right.
yeah, I think you can make a case for him being the best big in the country. And yeah, I think Auburn will be really good. Ken Palm rankings had Auburn fourth, Alabama third. So maybe a two-team race. Actually, Auburn third, Alabama fourth. Got it.
Yes. Next team up and the last team up is Tennessee. I have them third. Um,
Yeah, I've got Tennessee third as well.
yeah, I mean they'll always be solid under Barnes. I mean, obviously better than solid having them third and such a stacked conference, but definitely an interesting transfer class. Kind of want to hear your thoughts on because I feel like I don't know. What are your thoughts on like all these players
I
individually?
I mean, just kind of put together, it feels like it's going to be a lot different looking than other Tennessee teams. You lose
What
the
do we?
guys like
Yeah.
Adu, Josiah Jordan James, Vescovi, kind of like the hard nosed, gritty defenders, and now you've got more like skill on the wings with Lanier,
Mhm.
Dubar, Milicic, kind of a four. But I really like the shooting that they have, and I think um,
Yeah.
Ziegler can create for all of them. I think it works out well. Jordan Gainey, can he make a second year jump as a transfer? I think maybe, and then your
Maybe.
guy Cameron Carr as well on the wing,
Yeah.
making a jump.
What do you think
Akbar,
about Lanier? What do you think about Lanier?
I I don't think he's gonna have this like connect type impact that maybe people want him to have, but I think if he can just be a solid 13, 14 point a game guy, just be efficient with the looks that he gets, I think that's good
Hmm.
enough for what Tennessee has next to him. I like Akbar at the 5 too. I think that's a good fit um as a rim protector for Barnes.
Yeah. Lanier though, like he was like so good at North Florida, but like the ASUN defense is very like questionable. Like there is no defense played in that conference. It's just an offensive friendly conference. And yeah, Lanier did really break out, but like
Yeah, I
I
don't
think
think
he's
he's
probably
much
gonna
of
be more of a shooter.
Yep,
But like
I don't think he's as much of a shot creator as people kind of maybe want him to be. They see another 20 point per game mid-major guy, they want him to be
because
connect,
his
but
the analytics are crazy, but like let's take a full step back. He's not Dalton Connect. At least I don't think he can feel free to prove me wrong. I think he's still really good though. Yeah, like Milicic I really like. He just like
mm,
kind of does everything pretty good. Can space the floor, really good for Akpar, like you were saying, like he's he's probably not better than they do, but like he's almost a better like fit anywhere in the country. Like he's just like
yeah.
dunks the ball, gets some lobs, blocks some shots. Like whereas Adu, like you would kind of have to deal with like some bad shots he would take, and Akpar, you don't think you really get that as much.
Yeah, and I think that's the important part because of um the guys that are going to surround him like Dubar, Milicic, Lanier can space it,
Hmm.
be the shooters, and Akpar isn't going to really command any touches.
Yes. Also, Jemai Mashak, haven't really talked much about him, but he's a really good glue guy. His energy is really excites me.
Yeah, I think he should start at the 2
He
or the
will.
3,
I, I'm I'm pretty
whatever
confident
you
he
would say
will.
Lanier isn't.
Lanier's
Yeah.
probably, yeah, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I think Dubar's probably gonna come off the bench. But yeah, he was nice at Hofstra, really shot the ball well, really efficient. And yeah, like this is a good team.
Yeah, and I think trusting in Zakai Ziegler is a good idea for Barnes. I think he can be a
Mhm.
experienced creator and then sets the tone defensively as well. So
Yes, definitely a great team leader to have heading into his senior year. And yeah, I mean, pretty old team overall, as is pretty much all the conference. But yeah, definitely they're gonna be good. I'm not really like worried about these transfers not hitting kind of because of the system, because of Barnes, because of Ziegler. Um, yeah, and you have like sophomore guys, Strella, Kate Phillips, Cam Carr. I think this team will work itself out. Um, Even though there could be some individual skepticism with some of the guys. So yeah, I had him third, kind of behind the first two, but kind of pretty clearly in third for me. Even though there's like a small
yeah,
gap, like I'm pretty comp. Oh, I'm not like too confident because
yeah,
like
I kind of
I'm
go
pretty solid in my placement of having him third.
Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, kind of clear cut 1, 2, 3. I think
Yeah,
4 to 8 for me is a really close tier, and then I think Texas, Mississippi State are like just a notch behind
yeah,
those teams.
yeah. It's kind of a mess after the first two, or even after the first one, you could say. But I think Auburn's a clear two, but they're I don't know. It's the
The
SEC is going to be so fun.
Auburn's a clear 2 for me as well, but
Yeah,
there's a lot of other people
but they're
who
not
would
like that far from
put them in that
Tennessee.
tier. Yeah.
Maybe they're
Yeah.
in their yeah. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. There's going to be a lot of really good teams. They had 9 teams ranked in A people. I think it was 9. Yeah, because
Yeah,
Texas.
yeah, it was 9.
I don't agree with Texas or Ole Miss. I can see. Yeah, whatever. AP poll doesn't matter at all. So, but it's still like wow, like they have 9 teams. That's a lot. Even though it's a preseason, like nine is crazy. So yeah, any other notes in the conference? It's going to be a super fun conference.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've hyped it up all podcast long. I think it should be very good. I have I think I'm setting 10 teams as like my line for teams to reach the tournament. Mississippi State's probably a last four in type of team for me, but I think 10 is definitely doable for the conference. I think any more than that, you're probably having the teams beat up on each other too much. But
I think 10 is a safe bet. Because I feel like, I mean, realistically, like any team could make the tournament. I feel like out of my rankings, like because I have like 10 Georgia, 11 Mizzou, 12 Mississippi State, 13 Vanderbilt, 14 Oklahoma. I don't know as much about Oklahoma. Like, I feel like the top 13, I feel like, yeah, this like team definitely could make the tournament. A few of those teams won't, but like
yeah,
this is a deep, I mean, pretty solid top of the league, but like the middle is just so stacked.
yeah, I think same idea as you, like Oklahoma, Missouri, Georgia. For me, like I could see one of these teams like hitting the upside and breaking into the tournament, but then yeah, kind of like you said, like then it'll drop another team out. So I think it
Yeah.
really caps at 10.
It's gonna work itself out in the end, but I'm interested to see how it does work itself out because there's a lot of the basketball to be played, a lot of fun to be had. So I'm yeah, super
Yeah,
excited to tune into some SEC basketball this year.
and plenty of just like exciting teams to watch. Kentucky,
Hmm.
Florida, Arkansas, Alabama. Um, Texas will be interesting to see how they shape
It
out.
it'll be a must watch.
Yeah, good or bad, but
Um, but yeah, any other notes before we close it up?
yeah, I think that's it for me. I think
Yeah.
Auburn is going to be in my preseason Final Four. I think they finally make a run. I think
Okay.
Pegues is the guy. The backcourt's got a big upgrade. Broom in the front court. Yeah. So that's
Yes. Given your hype for the Geese, I definitely see it.
the episode.
Yeah. So yeah, appreciate everyone that tuned in. Yeah, make sure to follow Hoop Scoop Media on YouTube. Actually, subscribe on YouTube as that is what you do. And turn on post notifications to be notified of all of our conference previews. Yeah, I really appreciate everyone that made this far. This was a long one, but a lot of teams, a lot of really good teams, a lot of interesting storylines. So appreciate everyone for that. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter /X. Um, Give us a 5 star on all those podcast platforms if you are listening on that as your platform of choice. Um, Make sure to follow Luke at College Hoops Outlet, Instagram, CHO Talk Sports on Twitter /X. Anything else? I think I hit everything there.
Yeah, I think you got it all.
Yes, sir. So we will see you for next conference preview. Not exactly sure what that is going to be, but you're going to need to know about every team in the country. So no matter what conference it is, you are going to get to tune in. So we will see you then.